Hey guys, I think it's time for a short review of Pericles, the Peloponnesian Wars. I've just finished my latest scenario of that game and we'll just give you my thoughts on it. So I've just finished the first Peloponnesian War scenario and I've played most of the other smaller scenarios, yet to play the campaign game. Played them all solo and let's talk about how I felt about it. Let's firstly take a look at the state of the board after the end of this scenario. It ended on the beginning of turn 5 where the War and Peace issue was won by myself as the Agiards and the aristocrats, and we'll just talk about how that came about. So I was playing the Agiards and Formio, the AI, was playing all the other three factions. And if you're not familiar with the game, you've got the two Spartan factions and the two Athenian factions. The game ended with me scoring 72 victory points, the demagogues, the Athenians, down at 70, the aristocrats on the Athenian side at 61, and my compatriots of the opposition at 50. Although I got the most victory points, the victory points for both sides, both factions on one side are tallied and they're compared against the victory points on the other team side, and the team with the most victory points wins. So I actually did not win the game, although I individually came out with the most victory points. And looking at the board itself, all the action happened around the isthmus of Corinth and Boeotia, Sicily. The Athenians just held control of most of the Aegean Sea throughout the game. I didn't get out there at all, and all the action was through here. And as you can see at the moment, I don't think I've got any naval units on the map at all. They were all decimated by the Athenians, and but a fabulous game it was. Can't guarantee I got all the rules right, but I'm getting to grips with this game quite quickly now. It goes without saying that the components, as usual from GMT, are just first class. That includes all the player aids and AI charts and playbooks, etc. I did note in some forums that some people were complaining about the wooden pieces. I have no idea why, because I think the wooden pieces are just excellent. Give a great tactile feeling to the game, better than plastic and better than meeples. If you want meeples, go play a miniatures war game, I think. At first I was a bit daunted by the rules, and Pericles sat on the shelf for probably close to 8-9 months. I'm embarrassed to say so. I was unable to get many games to the table because I've been moving around and I just didn't have the space or the time to do it. Finally, obviously got it to the table, and it took me 2 or 3 days to get to grips with the rules, but once I've nailed them, they flow very, very smoothly, and it's not a complex game. Took me a couple of days just to get into the rhythm of using Formio and understanding that, but again, that is not overly complex, and the AI charts are very, very good, and with the help of the forums at the Geek, it's pretty clear what happens. So I find the game flows very smoothly, and I'm now starting to sort of not have to refer to the rules too much, and just focusing on strategy. So from that perspective, don't be daunted by the rules. If you can dedicate a couple of days to learning it, you'll be away, I'm sure. So the game itself has some similarities to Mark's previous game, Churchill, which I really enjoyed, in that you've got sort of two distinct phases to the game, the debating and assembly phase, and then you've got the action and the theatre itself. And I think that's a really nice element to have in a game, because it makes it quite fresh and interesting each time you play each turn. You've got to go through your political phases and so forth, and that's a mini game in itself and very fascinating. And then once you've done that, then you're placing your issues on the in the theatres, and that's where the strategy comes in. You're really thinking about the strategy. That's where your planning's got to be in line with what the issues you've tried to get, and placing them in this first in last out queue stacking thing is very fascinating. So you've got these two different games operating, which I think just adds a lot of interest to the game. And I think one of the key, as I just mentioned, one of the key mechanics of the game is this first in last out stacking mechanism. So basically you're putting issues into your theatre, and if they're going into the same theatre, they're being stacked one upon another. And then when we come to resolve issues, you're resolving the issues on top of the stack first. So you're going to have to be understand that mechanism, and it takes a couple of turns to get your head around it. Once you do, you realise how it affects the game. And one of Mark's posts or strategy articles talks about the Peloponnesian Wars and how planning was quite difficult in terms of traversing geography, trying to get in a certain place at a certain time to meet a certain army. They didn't have the communications that armies in later centuries had, so there was a lot of planning that went, I think, astray. A lot of luck was involved in getting to the right place at the right time, and that's reflected in this first in last out stacking mechanism. And I think if you understand that, and you can correlate it to how war functioned in those days, you begin to appreciate it, and any frustrations you have with it, and there are a few, you put down to, well, that's how it was probably frustrating at the time as well. So it's a really interesting mechanism, and I like it. It's fresh, it's different. Well, it's been used before, obviously, but most of our traditional war games don't use it. I really like it at this game. Makes for something different. So that's the gist of the game in terms of playing. You've got your two different distinct types of gameplay. They both are very related to each other. What happens here is obviously critical to what happens here. I've only played this game solo, and I can't praise it highly enough. Absolutely love it. I think it will scale up very well with 2, 3, 4 players. I'm sure some of you have played it with multiple players. I'm looking forward to playing it with multiple players. But certainly if you're a solo player, you're wanting something to play, this is a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Really, it's a terrific game. And again, I can't recommend it highly enough. I think Mark's done a terrific job. And I just look forward to more of his games. They just they do something for me. So big thumbs up, Mark. Thank you for the game, and hope you guys, if you do play it, you do enjoy it. And thanks for watching.